for Jesus Warriors Club, our solar system. Last time we talked about the sun or sol. We talked about it being made of hydrogen, as Cecilia was able to discover, and about the importance of our discovery, because the use of light to find the elements in other planets has done a great thing to the astrological environment and science. People have been able to see many stars, many planets, and satellite things. What I'm going to talk about is the other time we talked of Ancient of Age. We talked of Rock of Ages and many things. We were just having similarities with the Bible, breath of life, and the wind from the sun, continuous. There are some things that perplex us. I'm not saying that's what the Bible said, but I'm just looking at similarities. Interesting, we belong to a family of one star, a family of the sun. It's interesting that amongst families of stars, we belong to a family of a white dwarf. Formerly they were saying a yellow dwarf. Recently they are saying a white dwarf star, which is Sol or solar or sun. And this star has got, we'd been given 9 during my time when we were learning, because we knew very little about the solar system and we thought we knew much. In fact, that time we would boast that we knew so much about the solar system. But with modern machines and observatory tools, we realized we knew little. The people during the ancient times knew of planets from Mercury to Saturn. That was all they knew. And by then, they believed these things were going around the earth. Even the sun, people believed it was going around the earth. That one you have heard of. But later, as science advanced, they realized that the sun is at the center, and due to magnetic forces, as it rotates, it moves the planets. But the planets are also moving around on their own accord. So that movement and the tension keeps the planets in their orbit. We talked of planets moving at very high speeds. That's what they discovered. And with modern science, probes have visited many of the planets. Formerly, we just knew planets. Now, probes have landed. Probes have landed on Mercury. Probes have landed on Venus. Probes have landed on Mars. Probes have landed on several other planets. So we're going to start with Mercury. Is the nearest one. People used to call it the messenger of the gods. It would move very fast. And sometimes, because of the fast movement, it would appear as if it was now going against its own orbit. But it was because of the movement of the Earth and that planet. It's the closest to the sun. It is hot on the side that faces the sun, rotates slowly, and very cold, freezing on the side that faces on the other side of the sun. The probe realized, strange enough, because people never thought that you would find ice on Mercury in the dark places not facing the sun. There is ice. That's all. Interesting. It has no moon, no satellite. That was the messenger of the gods. And who do we have as the messenger of God? Gabriel. And there, that time for the Greeks, this was the messenger of the gods. That's why they used to take the messages to other gods. And then we come to the next, the brightest. People call it the morning star. The Bible mentions it as the morning star. Venus. Venus, the Greeks, I think, named it after the goddess of war. Very bright, very beautiful. I talked about it, and whatever has been happening, the same size as Earth, but it has got no satellite, has got no moon. And then we come to our mother planet, Earth. Others talk of Gaia, others talk of whatever, but it's this Earth. This Earth has a satellite called the moon, and the moon is a small planet, around 1/8 the size of the Earth. It affects the Earth in many ways. Strange enough, moon helps, just like the way the sun helps sustain life on Earth, moon helps sustain life on Earth. It keeps the tides moving by attracting the water. So that's when you have high tide and low tide mixing air in the sea water. Otherwise, the water could not be able to dissolve air to support life in between there. It also keeps the Earth from not leaning too much on the axis, causing the climate, when it's leaning towards it and going across the sun, you have the winter as it moves, oscillating like that. It keeps the seasons on Earth. So moon is very important, to us. God is a wonderful God. A satellite that also helps sustain life on Earth. Many will not believe. We just used to think the moon goes around the Earth. That's all it gives life. No, it is assisting in the sustenance of life on Earth. When the first rocket went, they say it was going around the speed of 20 times the speed of a bullet. 20 times the speed of a bullet. It took 3 days to reach the moon. 3 days of continuous flight at that speed. 3 days. So it is far, but not very far away from the Earth according to the distances. From Earth is where people now measure distance to other planets. So now they call it an astronomical unit, distance from the sun to the Earth. Maybe we can call it a millimeter when you start measuring. So when scientists measure, they now talk of astronomical units. If you talk of Jupiter, how many astronomical units from the sun? That is our measurement. Distance from the sun to the Earth. A millimeter or whatever it is. So from there, we go to the next planet, which takes twice, almost twice the length of time the Earth takes to go around the sun. But interesting enough, its day and night is almost similar to us. we we have 24 hours, it goes to 25 hours. That is a planet that has day and night almost the same time like Earth, 1 hour difference. It rotates for 25 for that difference. We our time and it has that variation. But it also has seasons. Though people were saying it was completely bare, they realized there is an atmosphere of carbon dioxide or whatever, and there is frozen water under. So there are so many interesting things on Mars. It is smaller than the Earth, but it comprises of, all the land on Earth is 1/5 of our Earth. 1/5. All the land. Take America, take Europe, take Africa, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. New Zealand, North Pole and South Pole. Put them together. The South Pole, North Pole, there is no land. It is 1/5 of the Earth's volume. 1/5. But Mars, because of whatever it is and lack of water, it is exactly the same size as all the land mass on Earth. God of war, that is what they called Mars. And then from Mars has got 2 satellites, 2 moons. A small one and a bigger one. Let's not go into names, it's confusing. We are touching this to enlighten ourselves, because I know the scientists, those who are interested in astronomy, know a lot. The general population do not even take an interest. That's why I'm doing it for us, so that we read almost at the same page, because those ones are advanced even for me. But for us now, we can learn together, and we have a rough idea of what is happening around. So it has got 2 moons moving around it. And then we go to the king of all planets. They call it Jupiter. And Jupiter, during the ancient times, the Greeks used to call it the king of the gods. Jupiter is 1.5 times the size of all the other planets put together. 1.5 times. Put them together. All of them. Jupiter exceeds them. It has got many moons moving around it, just like the planets move around the sun. So maybe it's a Jupiter system, a Juno system, or something like that. Many moons. The moons have water, others have got what, others have got very interesting things, but it has a lot of helium. Those who have been studying realize that hydrogen exists because of the pressure on Jupiter as a metal. Here we know hydrogen as a gas. And there are so many interesting things. Let's not go into more details. We move to the next planet, which is reacting almost the same, but it's lighter. But it's big. It's another giant, very big. It's called Saturn, and it has got several moons, and it has got ice water moving around it, and has got many moons. And then we move to another one called, by the way, Saturn was from the Etruscan, the name was gotten from the Etruscan god Satres. Satres is what gave that planet the name Saturn. Satres, an Etruscan god. And then we go to Uranus. The Greeks used to call that Uranus, or the sky, or the heaven. That one was heaven. Uranus is heaven, or the sky. Uranus. That is what they call the god of the sky or heaven. So Uranus is heaven or is sky. And then we have Neptune, from the Latin Neptunus, or the god of fresh water and the oceans. And then we move to Pluto, which was our planet during our time, but then later, that's why I was telling you we thought we knew a lot. The instruments realized that after Pluto was added as a massive object, a minor planet, a planet, we were told there were 9 planets. But on using those equipment, they realized they were other planets the size of Pluto, some slightly bigger than Pluto. There are so many, almost over 100 within that area. So they could not name them. But they had started the first when they came from Pluto. They named one Makemake, another one Haumea, another one Sedna. When the probe reached Sedna, the Earth looks like a small star. The sun looks like a small star when it's on Sedna. It's still within the solar system. And there are many others. And then you go to the Oort cloud. That is ice and small rocks moving around the sun, and that bubble we talked about. But as you move out of that, we realize that there is our neighborhood. Another neighbor who has his or her family, the nearest star. It is called, is it Alpha Centauri? There are about 2 stars that rotate around one another. By the way, the scientists say that stars are born and stars die. That's the theory they have. And mostly stars are born, most of the stars are born twins when they come from the gaseous form that forms them. And some suspect that the Earth may be having a smaller twin that we may not be seeing. They call it Nemesis, but no instrument has shown that. They say maybe some of the calamities that happened were when it would pass near, and because of its gravity, it would catapult some of those rocks from the Oort cloud. They would come crashing and hitting the planets, causing disasters. So some say there may be a twin to the sun, which they call Nemesis. Nemesis means enemy. But when we leave this system, because that one, the instruments have not tracked it, just like people are thinking there may be another big planet hiding within after that, but nobody has been able to track. I tell you, the sun system is a large system. It's a very large system. So as they are still trying to track it, we have neighboring stars. That's a neighboring family now. There is Alpha Centauri and Proxima Centauri. They are twin, they move. One is small and one is the size of the sun. And people suspect there may be planets. In fact, some people are suspecting one of the planets, they may be seeing things like light, artificial light. Nobody knows because it is far away. When I talk near, that is the nearest star to us, the neighbor. But they say if you travel at the speed of light, you would go for 4 years non-stop if you are traveling at the speed of light to reach our nearest neighbor. Centauri, Alpha Centauri, and Proxima Centauri. Proxima, I think, is a big one. Alpha is a small one. That one is the one closest to the sun, but the other one is almost the size of the sun, doing their thing, living their life in their small, comfortable house. the way God made it. And each planet, each star has creative powers of its own. That's the interesting part. Creative abilities, creative powers. So I think when people defined the creation and whatever, if they had knowledge, I don't know how they had that knowledge of what was happening around us, and they gauged it, even the religions and whatever, pegged on what was happening around us. It's an interesting world. And there are many other stars. Hundreds of billions in the family cluster of the family of the suns and others, because they belong. This one is we now belong to one house, all these planets. But there are other neighbors, like the Centauris and their others closest. And there are so many that they form estates. After forming estates, just like on Earth, they form towns. After forming towns, they form countries. After forming countries, now what we may say like the Earth, they form something called a galaxy. That is a very large family of stars. We are in a galaxy called the Milky Way. When you see the sky up there, sometimes you see some stars scattered like the milk. That is the family that we are in, on almost the outer. There are spirals somewhere between, closer to the outer spiral. That is where we are. Hundreds of billions. If you have to name the stars in our galaxy, or now if we are put it the size of the Earth, you would name everybody on this Earth and lack names to give, because they have over 100 million stars. Over 100 million, 100 billion, not million, 100 billion stars. 100 billion stars. We are 8 billion people on this Earth. So if we took each one, even if we have got similar names, but we just name 111, we will name 8 billion stars, leaving 92 billion stars unnamed. That is the Milky Way. Those are the fruits that people on this earth have eaten. We've not eaten the fruits. We are still innocent. Some do not even know what neighbors us. Let's eat the fruits together. Let's try to eat the way they are eating, so that we are knowledgeable of what surrounds us. I told you yesterday of the sun moving. Now, for those who have eaten the fruit, the sun is also moving just the way we're moving around the sun. Around that family, there is a very powerful dark star, over 1,000,000 times the size of the sun. Over 1,000,000 times the size of the sun now. And these stars are moving around it. The same thing that is happening with the planets moving around the sun, are the small moons moving around Jupiter, Saturn, and whatever. The sun with us moving at that speed, we being the family, is moving around that. So now I think our eyes are open. I am not an authority. I'm a mediocre learner who has learned it by listening to the experts and whatever. But I think we being mediocre, we have eaten the fruit together. So we are not very, is it called innocent or ignorant? We are not very innocent now. We are guilty of eating the fruit. But now, you know what happens around. That's what's happening. The sun is in motion. It takes how many? Is it billions? 200 million or whatever, according to the calculation, to make one lap. And when it passes, sometimes it passes where stars are dense, sometimes other places, and sometimes they say after several years, when it is a certain place, there are calamities because of the closeness of stars and all that. And there are times when things are, so it takes a long time to go around that. That is the deeper fruit that those with those instruments, those with that knowledge have eaten into. So why don't we share the fruit in a mediocre manner from an amateur just like you? The professionals, the authorities can tell us more. But from the layman point of view, that is the fruit. That is our galaxy, the Milky Way. Something else I want to tell you. Suns or stars sometimes can get angry too. And there are times when they eject, they can throw away their children. If a child becomes very troublesome, kick you out. And there are also now planets that have been kicked out. They don't belong to any star, they are just moving void from place to place. And there are more than the planets that are moving around stars. So if there are over 200 billion stars, and the planets that are moving, so in not attached to stars, are more, then you can guess the number. It's astronomical. Let's enjoy that fruit for now. That is the fruit about the stars and their families. Stars and their families. I think that's enough for us today. Let's leave it there. Let's savor that slowly. And let's say what a wonderful God we have. Because the strongest force that keeps everything moving, as we understand, is God. So that is a creation. The scientists don't understand it. Ours also religiously, they say their theories. So all theories clear one another. But in faith, we believe that these things don't work for themselves. There is a force that is coordinating all those. And that one is called God. That's why I was telling you, your visitation doesn't matter. Faith matters. Because those are strange things. Many of us will not understand, will not have known. We thought that we are final when you are here, and earth is everything, and the sun is everything. But we are realizing it, even within the solar system, you move to some of those minor planets, the sun becomes a small star. The way you see Venus in the sky, that is the way from Sedna. That is the way the sun looks. The way you look at Venus in the sky at night, that is the way the sun looks like. Strange enough, those who have gone to Uranus, the probe, when it went to Uranus, it is 4 light, is it minutes or hours? Hours, I think. Yeah, away from us. So If you send a message to a probe there, it will take 4 hours because the type of message we use, the radio waves, travel at the speed of light. But it takes 4 hours for you to send a message to get to that probe. And then the probe sends and you take another 4 hours. So your communication will take 8 hours. When you send, when it's received, and if it sends a message immediately, you wait for that long. There are those probes that have gone outside the space of the star. Now they are in the interstellar space, and it takes a longer time to get that message. Several days for the message to reach. And then you send the message at the speed of light. It takes several days for the message to reach. Those are the mysteries of this world. Those are the mysteries of God. This world is not the way we see it. That is my take for now.